I'll edit the part out.
I don't care. You can say that or keep it. I really don't.
Well, I can't say the bitch is old. You can say the bitch
Yes,
is old.
that's true. There's certain things that we can only say about ourselves.
So true. Hey friends, it's Zak Shellhammer, business coach and consultant, marketing performance business coach and consultant out of the great state of Nevada. And in the corner outside with me today is the amazing Kristine Milkovich. Hi.
He's so good. He's such a charmer.
It's the first time I think that I've been outside in the corner, and we are actually in Central Park.
Put a fork in me. Who gets to do this?
I don't know.
I feel so honored, for one, just to continue to deepen our friendship and get to know you better, Zak. I've been following in the corner, so I'm pretty stoked, and I think I'm just the luckiest person alive to be on your show, sitting in Central Park in New York City. So thank you
the stars have
for
aligned.
making this happen.
Absolutely. We are here. We've become Inman ambassadors together now. I've been an ambassador for about 3 years. It's I like to say it's the New York Times of real estate. Some may or may not agree with that, but I think it's a great news source for real estate and brokers, coaches, anybody really. But they thankfully chose me as an ambassador about 3 years ago. And
you're doing something right.
I must be doing something right, because then they let me recommend some folks. And then I know you from the Alliance, and here you are now with the Inman Ambassadors.
Yeah, thank you. It's just been a fantastic conference so far, and the great gratitude of you trusting me and trusting to raise your hand and throw my hat in the ring. And it's been a great group. I've taken so many notes as a real estate professional, and like I said, who doesn't love to come to New York City for business?
Exactly.
It's
my favorite. It's one of my favorite places to be.
Definitely.
And let's get to know you a little bit. As far as you're currently in Seattle.
I am. I
State
reside.
of Washington.
Yeah. Yep. The Evergreen State. I live in the greater Seattle area, a little area called Shorewood Burien, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump about 20 minutes out of Seattle City proper. And
I love that word.
Yeah, I know.
Does it mean
hop,
something?
skip, and Shorewood?
Shorewood
Yeah,
Burien?
it's just like Burien is like the borough. Since we're in New York, I'll use some New York slang.
Perfect.
Burien would be like an outlier or little borough suburb of Seattle. But it's just like 20 minutes down the road. And my wife and I have lived there in that area for 6 years. And we have our little French dog named Panda, and that's our little family.
Panda.
He's real cute.
Panda.
He's cute.
You want to know the dumbest thing about me in Washington State?
Yes, I do.
I went once because I was in Oregon visiting, and I ventured over into Washington, and it was about 20 minutes in that I kept asking myself, why is George Washington's head on everything? And it took me a while to think, it's called that.
There's a correlation.
It's a correlation. So there's the dumbest thing that I might ever say to you.
Here's the thing, and this goes back to, when the Alliance, as we know, but maybe all the listeners do not, they also have a wonderful conference in D.C. called the Housing Symposium.
One of my favorites too,
It's amazing. The only reason I'm bringing that up is because when I was there, mixing and mingling and learning, it is that distinction. No, not that Washington.
Right.
Washington State. So it is an important distinction sometimes.
It is. And you currently are an amazing real estate salesperson or broker.
Well, so this is what I love about our industry, because even the terms, the acronyms, the isms.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, no, but you bring up a really great point. So I am not a designated broker. I don't own a brokerage, but again, kind of West Coast, East Coast language. I am a sales agent, but in Washington State, I call myself a broker, but I'm a sales broker.
So
yeah, I don't have a brokerage.
Okay, but it is cool there to call yourself a broker.
Yes.
Because that is different from state to state.
Yeah.
Like in Nevada, if you do commercial, whether you're a broker or not, you call yourself a broker.
Okay.
But
I didn't know that.
And they have the same, residential and commercial folks have the same license. So it's interesting that residential do not call themselves brokers.
So there is a little distinction. Yeah.
But if you're in commercial, we'll do that.
I don't know. It just sounds kind of polished and grown up, and I need all the help I can get. And as this interview goes on, you will see why. But yes, I do identify as a sales real estate broker.
No, I think you are very polished. Very.
Don't let the
I
clothes fool you.
I feel
but
there's
thank
always
you.
so much every time
The
Kristine
truck
does
driver
something.
will roll out here in about 2 minutes, so buckle up.
Kristine is one of those that it's just you think you did something well, and then she does something else. I'm like, I should have said the same.
Oh, I have
same
enough to pay
thing.
you after this
I
for all
know.
these
I'm sorry. This is not
ego-boosting
This
accolades.
is totally organic.
We are off the cuff in the
yeah,
corner in Central Park.
I don't kiss ass. It's just true. We did video interviews the other day, and I thought, okay, that was pretty good. And then you just get up there and you hit all the marks, which I think I said, I don't know if it was to you or someone, they asked, what would I do better just overall? And it was be more prepared. Because I'm one of those that think, oh, I can wing it. And it's a good coaching point too. Those of us that think we can just wing it, there's need for some preparation.
I think there's always a balance, and again, given your amazing consultative line of work and coaching and helping people develop, I think there's always a balance. I think sometimes, and you post, I'm gonna put you in the corner. Zak posted the most amazing graphic comment a couple days ago that I hearted and commented on, because it's really to the point of this particular moment is, sometimes sometimes slick, sexy, and prepared is not the thing that's going to really connect to people. And sometimes it's just not the moment you capture. And that's okay too, right? To have the sexy, slick, prepared moment.
Totally.
But I think that's really, I loved your
People
post
like
about
both.
that. You're like, no, that's what you look like.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
And
just post that shit.
exactly.
Just do it. Get it out there, right?
That is the biggest complaint amongst folks that I coach, and just anybody.
Yeah.
Well, I don't look like that. I'm like, well, you do look like that, and that's not an insult,
No.
but you do.
Yep,
And I look like this, and we've got to. If I waited until I was,
We got to work with
amazing,
what we have, friend.
yes, I don't have that kind
And
of time.
I don't have any magic wand. I mean, fillers aside, I don't have any magic wand. So again, I told you I was going to be transparent. But I think it's a really, really good point, Zak. And I learn from watching you all the time, because just that post, I was like, damn it, that's good. Like, just do the shit. You know that saying, I didn't make it up, somebody else did, but I say it often to my own brain, is, sometimes just start before you're ready.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just an ism, but
go.
it's like you'll figure out how to make it better the next kick at the can. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yes. And that was, I think we heard somewhere a statistic of that this week, was the B-roll actually has more, like the behind the scenes stuff.
That's the good juicy stuff.
Gets more hits than your regular video.
Yeah.
That's just out there.
Well, remember in the film or movie world, maybe it's still happening, but the bloopers or blunders at the end. Some films still do that,
Always wait
and
for
I
the
know
end,
my wife and I are like, oh no, this is the good shit. Like we gotta stay and watch this.
Exactly. You didn't grow up in Seattle though.
I did not. So I am originally from like a little peanut. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and my mama bear, her name is Nancy. She's out there watching this. She had 3 daughters. God bless her soul. So I'm not sure how she weathered all that, but anyway, she had 3 daughters. I'm one of them. I'm the youngest. And when I was 11, she had a remarry. We like to call it that, a remarry. And that situation took me out to the West. So that's where I lived in Southern California for 26 years.
Amazing.
And naughty if you're all doing the math here. But after that, I moved to the Seattle, Washington area to follow my sister, whom I'm now in business with. And her name is Lisa Milkovich.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And it's
so
the Milkovich team.
The Milkovich, the Milkovich team. So I have to claim, I don't have to, I claim being Westie now because, I mean, it's been 1,000 years.
Exactly,
But yes, you're correct. I was born in the Detroit, Michigan area.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I still have I have a father there and our oldest sister, so still have some kinship roots.
I just found out the most interesting thing. There are people in Central Park.
Who knew?
It's crazy. They're everywhere.
You mean you didn't rent out Central Park for our podcast?
I didn't.
We're done.
We're done.
Never
We're over.
going to be a guest again.
We're over. So we found a literal corner.
I know. It's a little bit more apropos.
Yes, I love
So
it.
now everybody knows my humble
Your
beginnings started in
beginnings.
Detroit.
Yes, and then you had a long relationship with L'Oreal,
I did.
which is a very interesting thing.
Well,
for
this
your
is like
history.
a little bit coming home week because although my territory was 17 states on the west side of the U.S., including the one I live in, Washington State, the corporate office of headquarters, L'Oreal, is in Paris and New York City.
Okay.
So I was pretty blessed. 23 years in that world, 6 at L'Oreal corporate.
Got it.
But it's just, I mean, it's just a cool world. I think there's a lot of correlation between the real estate sales world because
True.
it's all
Oh,
about
yeah.
relationships and connecting and listening to people. And who doesn't like to feel good being beautified, right?
Exactly,
Whether
yes,
you're a hairdresser
exactly.
or getting a makeup application or buying cologne, there is that kind of just that sensory loving on people vibe
Yes,
that I
yes.
think beauty professionals are cut from that cloth. So
There's power in makeup.
power and
I like
makeup.
to say we did a.
I love a good drag face.
Oh, we all know I love a good drag face.
I wish I had on a better one today, but I tried.
It's all right.
I mean, you know.
We did an alliance drive in Las Vegas for homeless teens, and it was the Glam for Good
Loving
fundraiser.
everything you're saying right now.
But everyone kept, because statistically, teens are one of the higher rated homeless
and
populations.
suicide as
and
well.
Suicide.
Yeah.
And the sorry, you look at me like I'm famous, and I just love it.
You are, because you are.
Yeah.
You're in Central Park
I'm
doing
in
a
Central Park doing a
podcast. That
podcast,
doesn't
yes,
happen every day.
Exactly. The questions I got, because so makeup was one of the number one requested things of homeless teens is makeup.
God, I love it.
And everyone kept asking, like, why makeup? Because you're homeless, so there's
Yeah,
all this
you would
other
think,
stuff
yeah.
you'd think you need, and I didn't know how to answer that at first until I got some answers, but I had to boil it down to that. Makeup is power. You need makeup to go into the job interview that you're wanting to go to, or whatever else you're doing.
It could
out there.
it could help you feel confident
Exactly.
and fresh and
Yep.
ready, and
Exactly.
I love that. That's a really good answer. So, you know, as much as I think you know, unpacking worlds like fashion,
Yeah.
makeup, modeling, you know, can there be some surface stuff, or at times does it feel like it's about that? I think it's like any industry. I mean, even in our world, if
No,
you're
no.
not getting to the heart of truly taking good care of people and
No.
your intentions are not coming from that lane, you know, I think anything can feel that way. But yeah, it was a cool, like I said, it's a little bit
experience.
been like coming
Yeah.
home week, because I used to
Right.
come here once a quarter for my prior
Oh, yeah.
career.
That's awesome.
So
That's cool.
Yeah, but-
And then how did you find your way from that to real estate?
Lisa Milkovich's fault, older sister.
Older sister's fault.
And I say that lovingly. So I'm going to make this brief, but
right.
if
I'm sure there's a lot,
But
yes.
but this is what I'm going to say. If anybody, any listener, chooses to look up my bio or my actual real estate coming out story in print on paper, this is exactly it verbatim. I got laid off from my L'Oreal job, and I was kind of licking my wounds, picking up my ego and all the other, like, oh crap, I've been in this world for 23 years and I just got laid off. Oh shit, like, what am I going to do? Prince's, yes, him, the majestic,
the
magnificent,
the
almighty
Artist formerly known
artist,
as?
my favorite spirit animal. I will meet him someday in the ethers. It will happen.
Yes.
But the cool thing about my real estate coming out story is it involves Prince. Can't make this shit up.
Wow.
So Lisa and I were at the last living Prince concert in
Oh my
Seattle. Did you just get
God.
chills?
I did.
And we were having a lovely, silly tequila sister boozy concert night, as you do.
Yeah.
And we went to bed, and we didn't know 4 months later he was going to pass. Rest in peace, Prince. But he did. And so the next morning, my sister looks at me after we're, you know, nursing our hangover with lots of water and eggs and bacon. She goes, you know, it's time for me to take on a partner. My volume is such, and my life is such, and my business is such, that whether you think you want to do that or not, it's going to happen. I need help. And here we are. See, I told you, 11 years later.
11 years later.
I tried to make that brief.
That was good.
But
That's
I
good.
can always say Prince
Brought
is
it-
part of my real
Oh, I
estate
love
coming
that.
out
That's
story.
a good story.
Yeah.
I like it that Prince is involved.
I do too. I had a Prince themed wedding. My wife Chris and I
Oh,
this is
really?
that's another podcast because
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
lot to unpack there.
Okay.
But I'm like a super uber weirdo Prince fan.
I love it.
Yeah,
Did you?
yeah.
What'd you wear?
Oh,
What'd
okay.
you both wear?
Okay, I'll be DMing you later
Okay,
because
photos.
I don't want to be that guy that like sends a photo of me on my wedding day without someone asking for it.
Asking,
So you're gonna get flooded. A black sequenced, wide-legged, fitted, puffy-sleeved suit.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I will be buried in it. Whether that's in
fantastic.
5 years or when I'm 100, or God
100.
forbid it's not too recent, soon. But I will be buried in that suit. It's one of those. It was one of those like.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing.
I'll send you a
I
photo.
love it. Yeah, definitely send that photo. Can't wait to see. But you've
One
really
of my finer beauty moments. I will hold on to that each year.
That's amazing. You've really taken to real estate though. Like it's your thing. Like I think everyone knows that I'm a crazy consummate professional of things. Of doing the right thing, the professional, the going the extra mile, all of that, even though it's so far
Hard
sometimes
work.
out of your way.
Yeah.
But you mirror that. I mean, that's my referral partners across the world. That's what I look for. But you definitely have that attention to detail. You're all over. It seems you're all over the transaction. From what I see,
Yeah.
you really care about the client, your image, their property, your listing. Does that come from some place? How does one become so diligent, I guess? What's wrong with us?
What's happening? Well, it's so funny, Zach, that we're talking about this because Zach and I here at Inman, we were in a breakout conference yesterday, and the wonderful coach and speaker was talking about the DISC assessment, right?
Yes,
This is
that's
like
right. DISC.
a national test. So I am a super high D with a little sliver of S. Did I get that right?
C.
C.
Little
I knew he'd
sliver
help
C,
me.
yeah.
I'm a high D driver, energy. I can do 8 million things at once. I need a lot of challenges to stay engaged and interested. So 1,000% I'm a D. There's no arguing that.
Oh yeah.
But I do have a little bit of that C in me. And I really, as I get older, even more so, I value and appreciate that and really am grateful for it because to your point, I mean, we're dealing with the most expensive, important thing called a roof over someone's head, called housing and fair housing and helping people navigate that. So yeah, I try to lean into a little bit of my nerdy file system, data person, systems, rules, structure. It's not crazy overboard because I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be built for breaking the rules and going outside the box, and everything is not colored perfect because we would all not survive if that's how we had to navigate.
Yes, we would explode.
But I do appreciate that, and I take that as a big compliment. Yes, I love being in real estate sales and helping provide those opportunities for people, but I also do have a little bit of that, systematic brain too, kind of that other business side of my head. So
I'm a DI,
Yeah,
high
okay.
D, low I, but I'm also a chameleon, which is sometimes the thing.
when you're helping
and
people
you're
from
helping,
different
yeah.
backgrounds and walks of life, that's not a bad feature.
It's been very helpful, although people that live by the DISC, they feel it is infallible.
They're like, how dare you be two things?
Yes, and when I was hired initially, way back in the world, in the day, before I knew what a DISC was, I was an S. And it's very rare that a D or an I could trail into any S territory or vice versa. And they had me retake it every year, and it changed with my role.
Yeah.
And with my life, because it's your life and your profession both. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I was happy, relatively
Like kind
happy.
of owning that.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I'm good with
like
this.
I wasn't faking it.
Right.
I really was happy to be a supporter role, as is kind of more of
Yeah.
a support role. And if the structure was good, because it was not. But
And there was respect and
exactly.
all
Had
those
had that been so much better, I would have been fine with that. And then
Yeah.
I kind of moved up into more of a contract negotiating or contract writing, which is more of a C. And then, but when it came to the operations management and the podcasting and
that's where you
that's where I
shine.
shine. So it is pretty genetic, because there's always been a DI boiling underneath it all.
Well, just walking over here, I learned that Zak has also a oil painting background, and so I mean, you really your artistry, your creativity is going to be sprinkled on everything you do, because that's just who you are. And I think the whole label, I'm all for these tests. Like I just said, we were sitting in the conference yesterday, and I was like, oh, I've taken the DISC, and I think there's value in sort of what is the whole thing? Play to your strengths, manage your weaknesses, as much as that can be a trite saying. I think there's some value to that, especially when it comes to what lights you up. Do more of that. Whatever that is, figure out how to take care of people and make an earning and a living doing that.
And we found out that the creator of the DISC was also the creator of Wonder Woman. The cartoon?
All at Inman. You heard
All
it
at
here
Inman.
first.
I
This
had
is why
no
everybody needs to
idea.
come to Inman.
Which is amazing. After all the things, I mean, realtors just live and die with the disc profile.
Yeah.
I've heard it endlessly.
Yeah, in our industry,
but
right?
never
yeah.
has anyone said,
Yeah.
did you know this guy also created Wonder Woman?
Yeah. I mean, we
amazing.
kind of owe him
We do.
some of our
Yes.
archetypal.
Yeah. And that her personality was all the disc.
Yeah.
All four quadrants, she had that within herself. That
Now
was
I'm going to
pretty
nerd
amazing.
out on Google
I know.
researching this tonight with a glass of wine. This
Absolutely,
is fascinating.
Yes. And then our story is like
Yes.
the networking. What networking
Where
should
did
be.
we meet, Zach?
Where did we meet?
I love to plug Alliance any
Yes.
opportunity I can get.
The LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance. I was in Houston,
True
and
story.
I was putting on my very first workshop at the Alliance about authenticity and turning your authenticity and your activism into part of your business, and how that's a much better, yes, it is a much better business.
It was a great breakout.
You came.
You
to
had
my
me at
session
hello. I've been stalking him ever since.
ever since, and I love it. But it's
I'm not
so,
too creepy though, right?
No,
It's
not
okay.
at all. No,
Okay,
I'm good. I'm all right.
My wife's like, sometimes you stalk to the creepy level, like you slow your roll. But you know, I feel like that's a good thing to know how to do.
Oh yeah, no, I've gotten used to it. Now I love it because it was very much one of those where I didn't know what people were going to think about it,
Well,
and it was a pretty full room, to my surprise.
yes, it was like busting at
Yeah.
the seams. He's being
Oh,
modest.
my God.
It was very
And-
full.
And then I did my thing, and I thought, did anyone take anything away from this? And you were probably the first, or maybe
I think
the
I bum
second.
rushed you in the main stage
it was
room.
the main stage room, and you were one of those that looked, because you are, whether you know it or not, you can be intimidating
Oh Lord.
and very serious. So you were the
Oh,
serious.
it's that C. See, that C came out.
Because there was this serious broker-looking person in the audience, and I thought never would I have thought that you would be.
It's just so
a move.
fascinating
Yeah.
how relationships start, right?
And you asked me several questions and said it was really amazing, and then I guess I inspired you further, because you've done some things.
Full circle moment. So I had the great honor of being invited to be a speaker at the experience this last year, and I was presenting my slides and talking about my stuff, and this guy, I put his face, his mug, on my actual PowerPoint
yes,
slide because
yes.
I got to look at my audience and say, funny enough, a year ago, I was sitting in those seats, and I was an attendee in a breakout, and here I am a year later because I was inspired that, hey, if you think you got something to share and you can bring some value to our community, raise your hand and let it be known. So I have you to thank for
And
that,
it was
Zach.
so good, and it was one of those. Once again, she won up to everyone. This Wonder Woman.
My PowerPoint died, so of course that made me
Well,
sad,
it
but
was a
that's
bit.
okay.
You had your moment.
I did
of
the song and
problems.
dance,
You had
you
a
know, you get through
problem.
these things.
'Cause we all have. There's always some horrible
There's
thing.
some tech glitch.
Yeah, there's a glitch.
Okay, good. It's
So you
not
were-
just me. Like, that happens to
it
you on
happens.
occasion?
Oh, there's always something that's wrong. Yeah, that nobody knows about. The audience doesn't know because we were just delayed in starting. No one knew that. But, and this is to your credit, and also a coaching moment for those listening. Like, when you see something that inspires you that much, that you were kind of set on fire at that point, like, I'm gonna do this, because that was your question to me.
You
It's like,
helped me
should
build
I
my
do
confidence.
this? And
You
I'm
really
like, for
did.
God's sake, just do the thing.
Yeah. I
And-
actually did say
you
that to you in the
Yeah.
conference room.
You're
I
like,
looked at him and I'm like, I know we're just meeting, but I kind of feel like I want to do this. And
Yes.
he's like,
I'm like, well,
yeah.
then why not?
So a year later, I
Just
was
do
like,
the thing.
do
But
it.
you know, I just came in with the usual PowerPoint. I worked on the presentation. I did my thing. I gave my presentation. But then you took that and you hired a videographer to get B-roll and everything for marketing purposes. You really, really worked on your PowerPoint. And I think, is it practice? That because you are a very good presenter. You walk around,
thank you.
look at people, you direct your voice appropriately. Like, you do all the things that they teach us to do all the time. Did you learn to do that?
So that's a really, really great question. Again, it just gave me chills. It is cold, but because I'm literally in New York sitting at Central Park,
Yes,
I
yes.
will answer that. In my role at L'Oreal, I was the director of field education and training. So I owe so much to the leadership team and the folks that recruited and helped me develop my career there, because my whole team, my whole part of the company and my job, hence the title of my role, was facilitation and training.
Okay.
So
There we go.
I answer this in two ways. One of my she's not old and she's still a mentor, a wonderful woman. I'm actually going to say her name. She was one of my bosses there, named Sherry Doss, and she used to say to me when I was kind of rearing up and she was helping to develop me, just like you help coach and develop folks, is she said, bring those little life particles, that thing that just brings that Kristine Milkovich energy. Do that in every training, every presentation. So I answer it this way: tons and tons and tons of practice, lots of coaching, lots of mentors. Do I feel like I also just have that love and desire in my DNA? Yes. And I would be remiss to not. I think the answer is both. I think it's just a little bit how I roll and who I am and how I feel comfortable being in front of a group. And the second part, I've worked damn hard at getting better at it.
Were you an outgoing child and teenager?
You know, it's so funny. I think, like, if my mom was sitting here or my siblings, they'd say, you know, you've always been, you know, again, these are all these labeled stereotype words, but I think words like, you know, energetic, friendly, you know, easy to walk up to somebody. But to be honest with you, and this is the thing, I talk about this with so many people, is yes, I feel like I check those boxes organically and authentically. But I have to have my alone time. I have to have my downtime. I have to meditate and think and pray, and I call it scratching. Some people call it journaling.
I like that,
You know, for me, it's literally like I got to scratch for a few hours. I got to get some stuff out.
I like that.
But I don't know, I'd love to hear your point of view on this, because I think sometimes people meet somebody that maybe is a facilitator, a presenter, a speaker, and they're like, oh, it's so easy for you. Oh, it's like blinking. Oh, you just do that. And I'm like, who told you that? Like, excuse me? Like, no. That is not the case, at least for me. I'm speaking for me.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So what would be when you get asked that or you hear that?
It's a long road, and no one knows what's going on inside.
Yeah.
And
the work behind it.
And that's
too.
what this last year through Leadership Academy, we did a lot of speaking and actually spoke to people that were professional speakers that can coach on that level. And you should always be open to more coaching.
Oh yeah.
And just because you think
it just makes life interesting.
Exactly. And I love to know, like, oh, you're a professional speaker. Okay, what does that look like for me?
What does that mean?
And how can I get better? Because I always think I'm better. Because they do think they watch us up there and we're fine. And that was something I learned this year, was we had to do speeches in front of people to
your peers
practice.
And
And everybody had the same thing. It was like, we did it and we finished. And everyone's like clapping and going crazy and said it was amazing. But then we asked the audience, which was our peers, so we were all in this together. But for me personally, I was like, well, did you hear my voice was shaking the whole time?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it was not shaking
Isn't that
the whole
amazing?
time. So do you see I turned red? No, you never turned red.
Yeah.
Never.
Right. It's the voices in the inside.
Yeah, exactly. So I would
We're
have
our worst enemy, right?
And same with Alliance. When I presented in Houston, I felt like I was stuttering, stammering all over the place, that I didn't do the PowerPoint slides well and all this stuff. But then afterwards, you were the superstar of compliments to me, and I thank you for that, because that encouraged me then to go further.
To keep going.
But also that whole week then, after that, I kept running into people that were in the workshop, and they kept saying, I keep thinking about what you said. And that's like the number one thing.
The reinforcement you needed.
That's the number one in my head also, is you think that what you're an expert at, everyone else already knows.
Right.
Because I've lived in this body and I do this is me. And what I speak on, authenticity, is who I am. Like there's nothing there that's not like really, I didn't learn it, it's just how I am. I developed it more.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction.
But I didn't, I was born this way.
Hi, Lady Gaga. Thank you for the best written song ever.
Yes,
all of our
thank
mantras.
You. Yes, exactly.
I think though, Zak, you brought up a really great point, is some books, some even spiritual belief, think tanks, you know, they call it being in flow, or, you know, we all know, whatever we want to call it or not call it, you know, when you are like, I could do this for hours without water, without food, going to the bathroom. I mean, I'm being sort of silly. We all got to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, but that's true.
I don't want to get my hand slapped. Food and potty breaks and
important.
water is good.
Always take care of yourselves.
But I really do think, because I think you just said it in a couple of really great ways, is when you're doing the thing that you feel so whole, your actual soul is like just loving life. For one, you're serving so many people because you're using your talents and your gifts. But you really just don't even need to come up for air, right? I mean, that's the way that I explain it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it absolutely is. So, since I watched yours, and I would say yours was top.
Oh, you're very kind. You're
and
very kind.
I know I'm very kind. I'm not,
very
I know
kind.
It's just a lot of compliments here. I'm sorry, but it's true. But I saw, like, wow, you got it. And anybody that hadn't met you before probably was like, wow, there's a videographer and a PowerPoint and all this stuff. How did you feel? Did you walk away from that thinking,
Okay, so here's a couple things, and this goes back to start before you're ready, and you know, just get in there and do it. So when I got done, literally, I called my wife almost in tears. Here's the thing. I let my ego, I'm being super transparent. My PowerPoint bulb died. Right. So therefore my slides, you know, kind of went bye-bye. And there were a couple little technical glitches that the process had me not start on time. And here's the thing. Who freaking cares, right?
Who knew?
No, I mean, you're being gracious, but my takeaway, and you know, here doing this years in, and being a public speaker and having some great opportunities to go in and learn from audiences and share a thing or two with audiences. My my big fragile ego was like, oh, Milkovich, oh crap, it could have been better. You know, oh, it was a bomb because of A, B, and C. Well, the bottom line is, if I'm really there and my heart is to serve the group, meaning share something about the message because I've learned something about it, maybe it would help somebody else. So I felt like I loved it, and I felt like the content was relatable and that the audience was gracious and there was energy in the room. Loved all that. But I had to work through letting go of, like, just because those two things happened doesn't mean it was a complete disaster, and that nothing, you know, that there wasn't value there. So that's a really great question.
That's good to know.
And I really am answering you honestly.
I love it. No, that's because people need to know that. Like the best, I'm sure, like the people that get paid tens of thousands of dollars to do this stuff. Because we're not there yet. We're almost there. But they probably feel the same way. They probably get, I mean, I know some of them that beforehand they're extremely nervous. And they get on stage and they do it. But all of that helps, because we've heard nerves always help. The other thing was, that I thought of when you were saying that, you were prepared already.
I did do a lot of studying and preparing and note taking.
And you're passionate about what you're talking about. So was I. And that's that comes back to our preparation earlier. As
knowing your content.
As long as you're ready, like, you know. Because I've been involved, especially last year, I belonged to a couple organizations and committees, and we won't name names, but I was told that, like, as a leader of that committee or that class, all I had to do was show up, introduce my speaker, and sit in the back, and it runs itself.
Yeah, right. Plug and play.
Plug and play, because nothing ever goes wrong.
Right. And I know that's not true.
And I invite a couple guests, and one time they didn't show up, and I went and I said, "What do I do?" And they said, "Well, just end it." I'm like, well, I'm not. I just like, got 20 people in a room.
I'll do an interpretive dance before I do that.
Yes. So I'm like, well, I know a little bit about this topic. I know more about other topics. Let's just have a chat for this hour then, because these people came out to see something and have a meal, and I'm not going to just be like, okay, meeting adjourned. Sorry, guys. Person didn't show up. They're a flake, and I suck because I booked the flake. and that makes me
Yeah.
feel worse.
Yeah.
And those
Super good point,
yeah,
Zach.
that turns into the best.
Like, just make it work.
Just make it work.
Wasn't that a Tim Gunn?
Yes,
Like,
yeah, just make
say,
it work.
Like,
yes.
just do it. Get it done.
Yep. And after it was done, and to this day, so I keep hearing it was the best I've
Awesome.
ever attended.
What a great,
because
like,
we just pivot.
testimonial about,
Pivot's the word.
yeah, pivot.
That's the word.
You pivot and you just jump in there. And, you know, you said something else that's such a good reminder. I have to remind myself of this all the time. The audience doesn't know
No.
what you came, I mean, yes, they may know the title of the
Topic,
program.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they don't know if there's 3 slides that you didn't
Right.
get to.
Yeah, no,
They don't know because they didn't get the slides.
Yeah. And they
So
don't
I
know
think
if
we
if-
have to
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. If this is part of the program,
Yeah.
they have no idea. If you're
Yeah.
making a joke that or
Yeah.
you're nervous, they might think that's part
Yeah,
of.
I was
the
supposed
whole
to hip
thing.
hop dance the last 2 slides. I mean, that's a
those-
joke.
Oh,
Not
was-
that funny.
Oh damn!
It's like,
I
no,
was
that's how it was
excited.
supposed to be. I mean, I can
Exactly.
beatbox too if I have
Yeah.
to.
Well,
I have some hidden talents.
Because we had to end early while it was late, but
Yeah.
it was you had 10 more minutes.
Yes,
I
yes.
thought that was.
So it
I
was
would've
just
loved
like
to see
we
that.
all go through that, and I think
Yeah.
that you know, you can't make this stuff up. That illustrates, like, I walked away feeling so honored and proud to be in the room. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah.
So honored and proud to be in front of this esteemed group and be asked to be a speaker. But I had to clean up my ego because I kept getting hung up on the few hiccups. So
Yeah.
I suppose I'm just still working
Yeah,
through that.
yeah. And as you go
Still
along,
growing.
when you do this all the time, it'll just be, oh, these are things now that I'm taking away to work on later.
Yeah.
At least in my perception, I don't feel like I screw up anymore.
Yeah,
I feel
good.
more so that, oh, I'm just,
Like
these are
that's
things,
another thing to
that was
put in my
another
tool
learning,
bag.
another thing to do in the future.
Yeah.
Because I know they loved it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's my ego too. They love me and they love me.
Well, we all. I mean, I think I'll say having self-love and appreciation. I don't think you can have enough of that
No.
in life because, man, you know, we all get kicked. We all get told no. We all are going to receive coaching and correction, whether it be from ourselves, our teammates, our colleagues, our spouses, our parents, our siblings. So
Oh.
having some self-love and self-acceptance, I don't think that personally we can hear that enough.
Sure,
I
that's
don't
right.
think that message will ever get
And
old.
What did, I think it was Blanche Devereaux, but not the one who, Rue McClanahan, every kick's a boost.
There we go.
There we go.
Just keep taking the kicks.
Keep
Bring them
taking
on.
the kicks. Keep getting those boosts.
Oh, I
It's
love being in the
getting-
corner
I
with
love
you.
being in the corner too, and it's getting really cold.
Yeah,
The
my
sun-
feet are
yes,
starting to get
okay.
cold. This is live
This
from
is
Central
live from
Park.
Central Park.
I felt very newsy saying that. Thanks. I know this is your show, but I just
That's
had to
great.
get that in.
Absolutely, as much as you want. And I will be on your podcast.
Yes, we are
So
booked.
your podcast is what? Tell us about it. Where can we find it? Where can we find more of you?
Yes. So I launched a podcast called Superpower. The tagline is Unleashing Your Inner Hero.
I can't wait.
So I am so excited. Zach agreed to be an episode guest. That's coming up. You'll see that all online, and we'll dig a little deep and figure out even more of the
More of this.
heroism that I know you sprinkle on your community and everyday life. So,
I love the sprinkles. I'm
thanks.
just picturing a jar of glitter that's just
well,
like
you know,
bring it in,
I like my
sprinkle it
makeup.
all over, and the makeup and all that. So thank you for watching us. This is another episode of In the Corner with Zach. This is probably like our second season. Maybe the start of the second season, if there are seasons. There are no seasons online. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled. It's just a continuous stream of endless stuff. So until next time, thank you so much, Kristine.
Thank you. I had a blast. See ya.
Stay tuned for more.
Are we ready for our
We're
close
ready
up,
for our
Mr.
close-up,
DeVille?
Oh my God.
I know.
Did I tell you about that last night? About
No.
Sunset Boulevard.
Reference?
Several of the ambassadors were sitting around talking about they were going to see Sunset Boulevard,
Yeah.
the musical
Oh,
on Broadway.
cool. Because we are here in New York
Yes.
City.
And someone said, "What's it about?" And I said, "The movie." And they said, "There's a movie." And then I was the old bitch. So there we go.
Yeah, it happens. It's kind of like when I meet a new client or a new friend that is my junior, and I say, you know, I used to love watching Three's Company with Mrs. Roper because I always
Roper.
wanted to be Mrs. Roper because of those
Yes.
fabulous
Yes.
frocky dresses.
Same.
Yeah. So anyway, and they look, and then they're, you know, like when your head goes like this, and you're like, huh, No idea what you're talking about.
Stanley.
Kind of like that.
Stanley.
Stanley. Anyway,